Actually, he sold Cutco how many years? 2? 3.5 years ago. He actually ran a branch office when he did his last, he did the internship of running his own office. Sold lots of Cutco, then went out and ran an office. And it was funny because John Austin, when he first started, it was fun. Well, he's like, Spencer, what is going on? Why is XYZ person beating me right now? And I was like, give it time. You got to get the basics. He's like, all right. And then he figured it out. He got somebody on the team, built it and popped off, and he had a $200,000 summer from scratch. Yeah, he had a 1 week, his office beat our office. He did over 50K. And I was like, what the, we're not letting that happen anymore. But because of that, you were what, top 10?
I was number 9 in the nation.
Number 9 in the nation out of all the branch managers in the country. I think there was about 350 that year. And then he goes, you know what? I'm gonna take some time off. He goes, I'm gonna take a step back. I'm gonna try something different. And he went out and got an internship with 3M. And they said, you want to elaborate on because what you said, you talk about it.
Yeah, I went to graduated from U of H at the time. Initially, I was going to do mechanical engineering, and Calc 1 and Calc 2 taught me to get the hell out of engineering. So I found Cutco, one of my pledge brothers did it, and I got into it, really like selling, got into the sales program. And our sales program is really prestigious at U of H. It's number 1 in the nation. And we have a lot of really high quality companies coming to recruit. And our top of the top one, our most prestigious, like I'm unfortunately very bougie. I like everything really nice. So I saw the top program, the top sponsor, and I was like, that's the one I want. Like no matter what, I want them because they're the best. And you had to interview with them, and they literally just looked at my resume. They saw Cutco, they had no clue what it was, but they read what you do. They had no clue that it's not that hard to sell this stuff. And they just offered me the internship, and I was the youngest person to have ever gotten it, and they offered to me for the second year as well, purely because of like what I did here and the opportunities you get from here and what it looks like on a resume. And they gave me a full-time offer, so that's where I'm going to start working. But in the meantime, I want to see my old customers sharpen up some knives and just have a good time.
Nice. So he's coming back down. Give him a round of applause. So we wanted to stop by, see what we got going on. He's going to kick some butt and help us move forward in that silver cup and put some more extra dollars in his bank account before he gets his big boy job. So anyway, without further ado, though, I'm going to turn it over to Caleb here. He's going to walk through some stuff. So there you go, Caleb. I'm sorry.
All right, that's okay.
You're good. You're good.
All right, so the first question, read it out loud to me. Okay, so when he introduced me, he talked about how I lost, and Erica just reminded me in there. I lost the Rookie of the Year race in my division by $20,000. But you saw up there before it went off that I only worked 8 months out of the year. That's not because I started after January. No, I started in January. I was a really lazy rep. By that I mean I didn't work every single day from when I wake up to when I go to sleep. You should definitely. That's why I told you to write the question, okay? Because to me, I ask myself that question often now just because of what I did last year here. Because if I can sell over $80,000 working super part-time around school, partying, going out with my friends, doing whatever I wanted to do, what could I have done if I would have just X'd all the extra stuff out and worked a little bit harder? You know what I mean? Like where could I have taken it, really? And in my opinion, I would have knocked whoever it was in first place out of the water, but that's just my opinion. So really you have to ask yourself, how hard are you actually working before you get down on yourself about anything? You know what I mean? Because it could be you just didn't sell this one day, but that's the only day you worked that week. What are you doing to fix that? Are you improving your demo or are you just booking more? And it could be either one, by the way. I'm going to teach you how to improve your demo today because, like I said, I'm a lazy guy. I don't tell you how to do more stuff than you need to do. But that's the first answer to the first question, okay? Second, read it out loud to me. So, I should have said something different. But communication is key, as you obviously know whenever you're selling something, right? And I love that you said you want to go back and see all your customers because that shows that he might have a really strong bond with his customers. Me, I definitely do. Every person you see, I know you guys might still be, or some of you guys might still just be saying your kind of sphere of influence. I mean, you're on Rex now, right? Yeah, so anytime you walk up, whenever you guys do start seeing Rex, think about it like this. You have an opportunity to walk into a house, meet somebody you've never met before, in a neighborhood you probably never even been to, and you have the opportunity to make that person fall in love with you for the very first time without even doing too much. You know what I mean? It's that easy. And really, customer relationships is always something that I've been really big on because in that $18,000 push, one thing that really propelled me was I went to go back to see one of my older customers. My first ever customers that bought a complete set from me. I sold it to them right after I learned how to do what I'm gonna teach y'all to do. First ever people that bought a complete set from me, they texted me one day, and it was during the push, thank God it was. They texted me out of the blue one day and was like, hey, when you have some time this week, can you come by and sharpen Daniel's knife? Send me a picture of the knife. It was not a Cutco knife. It was just an old rusty pocket knife that they had. They hunted a lot, so they had a lot of different knives. It was just an old rusty pocket knife. I said, yeah, sure. I mean, I have some downtime right after these demos. Like, I'll come by. Glad that I did, because when I went over there, mind you, they had just bought the complete set like 3 months ago. So they were not paid off yet. So I didn't necessarily feel comfortable asking to purchase some more, but you should, because I learned after that you really should be comfortable asking for more. But came in, sharpened their knife, and I was like, you know what, while I'm here, which knives have you guys used the most over like the past 3 months? I can just touch them up for you. Okay, cool. We start talking about everything. When I mean everything, I mean that I sat down and ate dinner with them and watched King of the Hill. Don't know how I even got there, but I did, right? After that, realized what time it was, like 9:50 or something like that. It was getting a little bit late. So I was like, all right, like I gotta get out of here, guys. Thanks for having me. Thanks for feeding me and everything like that. And if you have any more trouble with the knives, just call me. I don't care if it's not a Cutco knife. They stopped. And then Marisol, that's her name. She said, whoa, wait, Daniel, are you gonna get with Kaleb? Daniel walks up to me. He's like, oh yeah, we're gonna go ahead and get one of those flatware chests. And I was like, oh, okay. And he was like, oh, actually, we're gonna get 2 of them. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. Because whenever I showed them the complete set, I did show them everything else, and I can teach you guys that at a later time. But I want to focus on the knives today. And they did like the flatware chest, but of course they didn't want to just spend everything all at once. Was completely fine. So they told me that they were going to get it at a later date, but I always assumed it was going to be after they paid their stuff off. But the fact that I was still there sharpening their knives, talking about whatever, in between each conversation, I was still communicating my goals to them. So I told them that I was in the middle of a push, and I had sold about 7K so far, and then I have another like week and a half or so. And I did tell them that all the things that I was doing here, even though they already knew, I just reminded them of it. And they asked me questions. Oh, how's this going? How are your sales going? How many people have you seen since you saw me? Which was a lot. But just because me communicating my goals to them, and the first time when I communicated them to them so effectively that they fell in love with me to the point where they called me over just to sharpen a rusty knife and tell me to my face that they want to buy 2 flatware chests from me. Like, let that sink in. That's a real customer relationship right there. You know what I did? On Christmas, I sent them an ice cream scoop and pruner, because she wanted a pruner for her garden. I said, Merry Christmas. Thank you for being my best customer this year. Because they did. They bought the most whatever from me. I wasn't showing favoritism, but they did a nice thing for me. I just want to do something back, you know? So how well are you really communicating with people? Are you really conveying your goals to them? Or are you just saying them? You shouldn't be. Say it like you mean it. You know what I mean? Here's the thing, guys. People want to be involved in a big story. So do you think that when I go back and tell all of my customers, hey, remember when I saw you back in February and I was kind of bad at my job? Well, I finished the year at $80,000 and I only worked like 8 months. Do you think that they're going to be proud that they bought something from me? Absolutely. For sure. They want to be involved in that story with you. They want you to communicate with them. Yeah, they might be a little closed off at first, especially when you're seeing newer people. But that's just how it is. Communicate with them. Get them to get their wall down. Just talk to them. Ask them about their goals. What do they want to do? Stuff like that, you know? It's simple. Just have a conversation and act like you're there with a friend. It should be to the point, I've had this happen on multiple demos, where I come into the demo and I sit down with the wife or the husband, both, and I'm just talking, and it gets to be an hour past the time I was supposed to start, and then I start the demo, just because I was talking to them. That's how deep I get in with my conversations, though. And I don't have any problem with it. You know what I mean? Because I bet you, I don't remember the day too clearly, but the demo right after that, I bet you she fell in love with me just like they did. Right? It doesn't matter how much time you spend. Just communicate with them. Talk to them. Convey your goals to them. Do everything that you can to make them fall in love with you. Okay? Not a dry eye in the room. No, I'm just kidding. All right, so the third thing on there, of course, you actually have to know how to sell the freaking set, right? So let's get into business. So everybody knows the main set that we offer in our script is what? Of course, right? Like Kathy told me, you do know that we have 2 bigger sets, right? Everybody knows that? We actually have 3 if you count the Santoku signature, but that's another day. So what I want to show you, can I erase this? Yeah. what I want to show you guys is basically how I became so lazy, because I learned how to sell way more on way less demos.
Work smarter, not harder.
Yeah, exactly.
Or you can do both and
Blow people off the water like I did. So, who actually knows every single knife that Cutco makes and what it's made for? Answer. Who I expected. But okay, that's why I'm going to teach you. And I'm actually not going to be teaching you about all like the extra specialty knives. That's for another day, like I said. But I'm going to teach you about the basics. Okay, so I'm going to write up here what I'm talking about, and then I'll just go through it. Okay. So what's the first piece in the homemaker? A paring knife. What's the second piece?
Trimmer. Are you writing down when you're ready?
You can. You should.
Do we leave a lot of space or not?
Yes. Leave like 2 or 3 lines between each knife. What's after the trimmer? God, that's some enthusiasm. Dang, I don't want to buy that from you. Shit. What's after the special spreader?
Lever. T-cover.
Yeah, it's more like you're getting that. Y'all getting that. All right, now this one I want you to yell at me. What's after the T-cover?
Turning
fork. It's the most exciting piece of the set. What's after the turning fork? Oh, I don't know. It is the bush knife. What's after that? Then slicer.
Actually, I think it switches. It's petite chef butcher.
Oh. Well, I think it's butcher first.
No, it's
No.
It's the butcher, petite chef, then it's slicer, then it's the master carver.
That's what I thought.
Gotcha.
Yeah, Warren said.
Thanks. I know you got it. And then the table knife, yes. Okay. So everybody knows that, and everybody knows what the functions are for, right? I hope.
Yes.
Please know what they're used for.
Yes.
So not every single piece in the homemaker has a corresponding piece in the 2 bigger sets, but a lot of them do, okay? And that's where your money point is.
I've just never seen this before.
Oh, see, you guys should really listen. So, whenever you get to the homemaker, you talk to Mrs. Jones and you tell her that you're about to tell all the pieces and the names and uses of the set, right? And of course, they say yes. By the way, you should be asking a lot of questions to them. It keeps them engaged. Okay. So you say, well, the first piece I'm going to be showing you the set. Oh, yeah, is a paring knife. Okay, and what's the paring knife used for?
Stuff in the air.
Yeah, can you get it? Peeling apple,
Cutting celery,
cutting celery,
bananas and cereal.
bananas and cereal. You said peeling and paring, right? Small jobs in the air, right? Everybody knows that, okay? Well, actually, Mrs. Jones, in the complete set, well, of course you convey to her that you do have 3 separate packages, and that you're going to be starting off with the basic package, okay? Okay. Thank you. So, okay. So,
Do 10 candy faster.
Hey, it's got one.
so, I didn't do it. I sympathize with you. So, you tell her that before you even show her the paring knife that you have 3 different packages, okay? Now, you're going to start off by telling her about the basic set, but you're also going to mention the pieces that come in the 2 larger sets just in case she's interested, okay? And then at the end of all of it, you're going to ask her which one she wants. And I bet you she doesn't tell you. All right? So, that doesn't mean that she's going to say no to all 3, just nothing. So, you talk to her about the paring knife, right? Again, it's for what?
Small jobs in the air.
No, you're good, you're good.
So wait, so you said at the beginning, so you tell them you have 3 sets, then you tell them that as you're going through showing the basic set, that you're also gonna explain some of the pieces in the other sets too. You say something, and then you also tell her that at the end, you're gonna ask her which one she likes.
No. I was just telling you all that. Don't tell her you're gonna ask her which one she wants,
But you do say that you're gonna be showing or explaining the pieces in the 2 bigger sets. as well.
just in case you're interested.
Okay.
Yeah. Just in case you're interested. And yeah, that's really that. Don't tell them that you're gonna ask at the end. Just ask, okay? Anyways, so actually, Mrs. Jones, in the complete set package, we actually have this paring knife along with a larger one. called the 4-inch paring knife. Okay, so write that under there. And then you're gonna tell her, now what this bigger paring knife is used for is basically the same stuff. In addition to some larger stuff like bigger apples, bigger potatoes, just larger peeling and paring jobs. And this one's actually large enough that you could use it on the cutting board if you ever needed it for like a lemon or a lime. Now I want you to watch this seamless transition. Are you ready? Are you ready? But even though you could use it on the cutting board, we don't really recommend it just because we already have the trimmer in all 3 sets. Oh, that was beautiful. Like, no, I'm just kidding. But you see how I transition there, right? So, what's the corresponding piece of the paring knife? Orange paring knife. What set does it come in? Complete. Right. Not the medium set, the complete. It's complete every time. That's what we're going for, okay? So, and then you say, even though you can use this larger paring knife on the cutting board, we don't really recommend it just because you would already have your trimmer. What's the trimmer for?
Small vegetables, boneless chicken.
There you go. Just like that. It's also for trimming the fats off of meats. Start mentioning that as well, okay? Because a lot of people do that you would be surprised about doing. Now, a lot of people also use it, Mrs. Jones, for like deboning and deskinning stuff, but really we don't recommend that just because the corresponding piece of the trimmer in our complete set is the boning knife. Now, this piece is a little bit longer than the trimmer. It has a straight edge, and it's a little bit more flexible because it's more for like deboning and deskinning anything. It's also really good. I want everybody to look up when you're done writing. When you're done writing. So I'm about to do the hand thing. They know what I'm talking about. Anytime you talk about the boning knife, I want you to do this exact motion, okay? So, wait, what? No, okay. So the trimmer is for what?
Vegetables, boneless meat.
And then actually in the complete set, you would also get the boning knife, which is good for like deboning and deskinning stuff. And it's really good for butterfly and chicken breast, steak, and anything like that. Oh my God, if you do that, they will buy it right then. I'm just kidding. I wish it was that easy. But if you just do this, they'll get a better understanding of what you're actually talking about. Okay? Even if I've never butterflied a chicken breast in my life, but I know how to do that in the air. I'm not gonna try it in real life. So, like I said, the boning knife is good for like butterfly and chicken breast, steaks, anything like that, right? So it's a good barbecue knife. Say that, it's a good barbecue knife. Also, but right after that, we don't really recommend these 2 pieces for like spreading and serving anything, and that's why you have your what? What's that for?
It's for spreading. Cake.
I'm just kidding. That's it. Also, avocado. Start saying that too, because you have your avocado, right, and then you have the double D edge facing on this side. You cut around the seed, cut the seed out, and with the other side, you can scoop all the avocado out. You don't have to write all that down, but it's a lot. Anyways, so the spatula spreader actually doesn't have a corresponding piece. You just talk about that as you regularly would. Okay. Then you move on to the petite carver and the turning fork. Same thing. You talk about it how you regularly would. There's not a corresponding piece in the 2 bigger sets. Okay. But you do tell them that they come in all 3 sets. All right. So then after that, you come to your butcher knife, okay? So, Mr. Jones, this is our heavy-duty butcher knife. Now, this is really good if you ever want to go out on Halloween and dress up as Aladdin and scare all the kids down the block. I'm just kidding. It's really good for just, exactly what it looks like. What's the butcher knife for?
Butchering meat.
Fruit Ninja? You can use your script. Right, it's your heavy-duty knife, right? Exactly. Yeah. So that one, Mrs. Jones, comes in all 3 sets. But actually, in our complete package, you would get all 3 of the knives that come in the butcher family, or the heavy-duty family. Next knife is your cleaver. Now, this thing is a 1.2-pound beast. Okay, I need to write it. Cleaver. Okay, this one comes in the complete set. You tell her that it's 1.2 pounds, and that if her husband ever makes her mad, that you can use that, and not tell the cops where she got it from. It's really good for everything that the butcher knife is for, except just more hefty stuff. So what my mom will do is she'll get like a big bag of frozen wings off the freezer, and she'll pull her cleaver out and just separate everything, put the rest back for later, whatever she's not going to use, okay? Y'all's mom might not do that, but you can tell her that Caleb's mom does, okay? When you say Caleb's mom, just say my mom. But she's a very friendly person. The cleaver is really for just separating everything the same thing that the butcher knife would do, it's just heftier jobs, okay?
So this is like more on special occasions. You're not gonna use this thing every day, but you'll be glad you have it, right? Also, do you guys like fresh coconuts?
Yes.
Okay, we have a split decision. So, no pun intended. With this cleaver, you can actually split a coconut right down the middle. Do not use the edge part because it'll dull out your knife. It will still cut through, trust me, because I tried it, but it will dull out your blade. Okay, so try to use the back end where it's a little bit more thicker. That way you'll get a cleaner crack anyways, okay? If you get a cleaver in a contest and just bring a coconut on a demo, you'll wow some people, trust me. Anyways, but this is not the only last part of the heavy duty family, okay? Along with the cleaver, you would also get a hardy slicer. Now this is my favorite knife. Does anybody know what the hardy slicer is used for? Rib knife, right? So it's really for everything that these two pieces are for, except this is the only one out of the 3 packages that has a double D edge on it, so it's the only one that we recommend going back and forth with. Right? Orlando.
I.
Okay.
So what everybody heard what I just said, right? Yes. Hardy slicer is the only piece in the heavy duty family that comes with a double D edge. So it's the only one we recommend that you go back and forth with, okay? Now, Mrs. Jones, this is gonna be more for like your frozen meats or anything that you really just need to muscle through. I agree that not everybody wants to just come into the kitchen after a long day of work and pick up a 1.2-pound knife to make dinner for the kids. But that's why you have your hardy slicer. It's much, much lighter. And you can take your time with it instead of whacking it, right? Whacking is a cooking term in this house. You can tell that the hardy slicer also comes in the family set, which is the medium, okay? Everybody got that? Cool. So from there, you would say, now, obviously you wouldn't really use any of these big old pieces except the hardy slicer for chopping like potatoes. But other than that, you're not gonna use them for like chopping and dicing anything, right? So that's why you have your petite chef. What's it for? Mincing, onions, carrots, soups. Ah, come on, you need the last 3. Soup, salad, stir fry, stew, stuffing, and salsa. Delicate chopper. There you go. Yeah, so of course your delicate chopper, petite chef, whatever you really want to call it, it's really up to you. This one, Mrs. Jones, comes in all 3 sets. That's what we're telling her, right? But if you were to just go ahead and get the complete set package, now I want you to notice something. The petite chef is about halfway through the knives, right? When you're going through in your homemaker set, it's about halfway down, right? Or halfway through. Notice how I changed what I was talking about. So whenever I was up here talking about the boning knife, I said, actually, if you were to look at the complete set, but just now, what did I tell you?
When you get your.
See how I changed that? I got you. I'm almost done. But you see how I changed that, right?
Yes.
So you got to know that whenever you're going through more and more, she's getting more and more interested. You're reeling her in more and more. And then you're making it feel like she has ownership of it already. Whenever you get your homemaker, your complete set, you're also going to get this, right? So with the petite chef, you also get a petite santoku, or a santoku, sorry. Now the santoku is, does anybody know what it's for? Okay. Same thing. It's for this. It's the same thing as the petite chef, but you can tell her if you don't have one. The petite chef is shaped like this, while the santoku is shaped like this. It has a flat front instead of a curved one. So it's not so more for like rocking back and forth like the chef knives are, but instead you can just kind of like chop a little bit quicker. You can tell her that, okay? So that's your santoku. Your Rachel Ray knife, yep. And then along with that santoku in your complete set, you're also gonna get a vegetable knife. Now we call this one the veggie cleaver because it's shaped just like the big old Big Daddy cleaver I talked about a second ago, but it's nowhere near 1.2 pounds, okay? It's much, much lighter. And that one's really your best soup knife. So whenever you're like chopping up carrots, onions, or anything, bless you, that you're gonna put in the soup, it has a really wide back and a wide blade. That way you can just kind of like scoop everything up and just throw it right in the pot really quickly, right? And it makes your job much more efficient and easy, right? So everybody got that, right? Veggie knife and what? Santos. Okay, and after that, go to the slicer. What's the slicer for? Boneless meats. If you ever see a person that mentions that they're a competition cooker, always, always, always oversell the crap out of the slicer. Because if that demo just goes tanks or whatever, I can guarantee you they're still gonna buy a slicer because it's the best competition cooking knife that we make. Okay, really good for brisket. So actually, Mr. Jones, in your complete set, along with the slicer, you're getting a smaller version of it called the petite slicer. Sorry, my hand. I can read that right. So the petite slicer is for the same thing that the slicer is for, except it's just for you're not passing a sword around the dinner table, right? Because the slicer is pretty long. You can say that. Okay.
And that's the complete set, right?
Yes, the complete set. Everything I'm showing you is the complete set, and then right after I'll break down what comes in the family set. And just in case she says no to the complete, you can just drop down to the family instead of the homemaker. Okay. Then after that, you have your master carving set. You don't do anything with that, just like you did up here. You just go through it like your regular. Then you talk about your table knives. So, Mr. Jones, in the basic set, you're going to be getting 8 of our smaller steak knives. Now, these are the steak knives that Cutco came out with back whenever the company started. But more recently, we came out with the larger steak knife look. And it's just for a more efficient job whenever you're cooking. I mean, we're in Texas. We like big stuff, right? So you like big steak. You know?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So, actually, with the basic set, you're going to get 8 of the smaller table knives. But in the 2 larger sets, you have the option of switching to the larger steak knives if you would like to, and you get 10 in the family set along with 12 in the complete. Okay. So those are all the corresponding knives. Okay. There's 2 more knives that come in the complete set. Also mentioned to her that in the complete and family set, she's getting 3 cutting boards instead of just 1, and she's getting the shears, and they already come in the block for her. Okay. Write those down. So my 2 star knives up here are the 2 sharpest knives that Cutco makes. What are they? Does anybody know?
Tell me now.
Huh? Oh, I'm tripping.
I know
What
where
is
you're
it?
going.
What is it?
Cheese knife.
And the salmon.
Okay. Does anybody know what those 2 things do? They're pretty self-explanatory, I promise.
Salmon cheese.
Right. So not only that, okay? So you go through all the knives that go through all the corresponding pieces, then you tell her, actually, Mrs. Jones, in your complete set, you're gonna get 2 extra knives just because I like you. Okay, no, I'm just kidding. The company already puts them in there for you. But first is your salmon knife. Now this is the sharpest straight edge knife that Cutco makes. It's the thinnest blade that we have. Where's it? Can I play with
I
it?
know. Do you have? Oh, you have one?
Yeah. There's a cheese knife.
Okay. Have you ever seen the salmon knife?
No.
I'm trying not to cut myself from my excitement. So this is a salmon knife, okay? Now that you've seen it, you can describe this more accurately because you've seen it. It bends. So whenever you see Mrs. Jones, you're gonna tell her that the salmon knife bends. And you're gonna go like this way, okay? You can go like, no, I'm just kidding. But tell her that it bends, and it's the reason that it bends is because it's good for like filleting any types of fish, really, really thin to the bone as well, or really, really thin to the bone for any other meats, just because it makes a super thin slice because it's so flexible and thin, right? So our other knife is actually more sharp than that one. I know that's kind of crazy to think about, right? But it's our cheese knife. And our cheese knife, this is a different type of cheese knife, but it's still a cheese knife. So you guys know what the cheese knife looks like, right? Okay, cool. So your cheese knife, Mrs. Jones, is the only knife that Cutco makes that has a micro double D edge, okay? So you know how I was showing you that trimmer earlier? See how there's only 1 point for every 2 point that comes on this one? Okay, you guys bring food on your demos, right? Start bringing potatoes, get a cheese knife and a trimmer. You'll sell a lot, trust me. That's all I gotta say. Huh? Just a regular cheese knife. Or you can get a small one if you want. Yeah, any cheese knife. But the reason I say that is because the cheese knife is not just for cutting cheese. It's also good for cutting anything that's really sticky or starchy. So like cheese, but potatoes, onions, anything that you can think of that would stick to a blade, apples, it'll fall right off. Cucumbers, everything, right? But whenever you do the potato test, this is gonna get stuck halfway through the knife. You're reminded that it's a really good knife, but it's just not for the right job. And that's what we mentioned, right? You need the right tool for the right situation. After you say that, nobody's ever gonna buy a piece from me again. They're just gonna buy sets, I promise, okay? So that is pretty much it, I guess.
Awesome. Anyone have any questions?
Please ask. I like questions. I'm not mean.
Let's go Cyan first, and then we'll go Ziggy.
What is your process of remembering quality?
Just do a lot of demos. I mean, that's what I did, but actually there's a better way of doing it. So how often do you guys actually study your manual? You can be honest. A lot? Okay, cool. So that's a good thing, because I never did. But whenever you go home and the next time you study it, I want you to go to the names and uses page, and then I want you to read the first knife, and do this for all the knives. Read the knife lightly to yourself twice, like whisper to yourself. Then, without looking at it, say it twice out loud. Do it in the mirror, and then do it again, okay? For every knife, and that's a good way to remember some stuff, okay? It's also how I remember my script, kind of, and my phone script. It's a really good, efficient way to do it. But I mean, the other way is just doing a lot of demos. You got to have experience to actually know how to do it. You know what I mean? Like, don't get discouraged at all that I know about every knife that we make just because I've been doing it for a little bit more. You know what I mean?
Now, you said, real quick, I just want to mention, you're like, I didn't do a lot of practice. Why didn't you have to do a lot of practice outside of your demos?
Because I was too busy doing demos. That's the real reason. Just because, I mean, you should definitely study your script, but only if you have time. Whenever I first started, I was kind of balls to the wall with everything. But by the time I got to be a lazy rep, I was already memorizing all my scripts and everything.
Yeah, that's what I wanted. Like, you were doing your appointments word for word, just literally reading out of the
It was
script.
just coming straight out the script. And do not be discouraged if you have to look down the whole demo. They'll slip by something. It really doesn't matter.
Say it again for the
You
people
were
in the
looking at
back.
me.
It doesn't
Say
matter.
it again for the
Trust
people
me.
in the back.
They know that you didn't invent knives. They know that you don't know that much about knives right off the bat. And they know that you were trained on how to know about the knives, right? So it's okay that you're reading. Just read to the point that you can remember it. And when you remember it, still pull it out just in case you need a refresher, okay? See me.
So, I mean, I'm not sure if you're gonna teach this, but like, how do you normally close on the sets? Because like yesterday I had a demo and like, I think, so it was with a lady and she was actually probably interested in all the sets. And then like, I was like, I don't even know what the heck I'm doing because I've never like practiced anything like that.
Yeah.
So I kind of just like laid it all out with like all the prices and stuff. I explained everything. And I was like, which one do you like? I think she was close to getting the signature, but then her husband wasn't there and he's like, no, we can't do that one. So then she just got home.
Okay. So, and this actually, I'm glad you said that because that's what I actually meant to say after I talked about all the knives. After you show her all 3 sets, you lean in and you ask her. So just for you guys and your like cooking abilities and whatever you guys do, what do you think set would be like the most comfortable for you guys? The basic, just so you have your basic cooking tools. The family set, so you have a couple extra pieces. And your hearty slicer. This is the family set, by the way. Hearty slicer and the cheese knife, okay? And the
Petite.
It says 5
You don't have an
inches.
S thing.
5 cent Sentoku, yeah. The small Sentoku, you get a small Sentoku in the family set. And the shears. You guys know that. So after you show her all the sets, you ask her, so just for you guys and like your household and what you guys do more often, do you think the basic set will be okay for you? Just like the basic cooking tools? Or do you want to just go ahead and go with the signature, which is like, you get a couple extra knives? Or you can just go ahead and get everything like complete set. And that way you have everything you need, right? You want to buy it? So take care of that before you ever go to the closing. This is why. Because if I ask them after I show them all the pieces and they tell me that they want to look at the family set, do I want to show them the homemaker price? No. You're right, exactly. You want to show them the family set price. You also want to show them the complete set price though. Whatever set they say, show them that set and the set above it. So if they say the homemaker, show them both of them. All right. Signature, show them both of these, the signature and the complete. And if they just say complete, show them complete.
There's also a triple clutch.
There is also a triple clutch, that's for another time.
Well, I'm saying.
No, yeah, I'll teach you that.
What have you found easiest to start off with, like when you're building? What questions? Because I'm like, I can build reports kind of easy, but at the same time, it's really hard for me to like start.
So what like barriers have you been running into?
Probably like going for a really long time. Like yesterday when I went to the demo, I did like maybe 10 minutes, but I wanted to like go a little bit longer maybe because I went right into it. I was like, man, if I wanted a little bit longer, I could have got her. To
Yeah,
something.
I get you.
So I'm like, how do you? My question is basically, what's the best question to ask them to help build?
So I don't think there's any set of questions that you should be asking just because that kind of makes the demo get kind of washed and rinsed and repeated. Then you get bored of doing your job. You know what I mean? You're seeing a new person every time, so generally you should be asking new questions every time until you have to wash and repeat it. But the thing is, this is the main thing, and everybody write this down. There is no set time limit to report. You can ask Lauren, you can ask Ashton, they both been on my demos, and the entire time I'm either learning new stuff about them, making them laugh, asking them questions, asking where their kids are, asking where their husband is, something. When you get there, I do want you to like, oh, this is a beautiful house. I want you to do everything, okay? I want you to build a lot of rapport before you even talk about any of the knives. But at the same time, don't let that limit your rapport. Don't let that be where your rapport has a period, just a comma. Then you start talking about the knives. And then, oh, by the way, I know you told me on the phone that your son had a basketball game that last weekend. How did that go? Just remember things. Take notes when you're on the phone. Just bring stuff back up whenever you're with them. You know what I mean? That really means a lot to people because it shows that they were listening. They might not even remember they told you that. And the fact that they don't remember it, and you do show something. You know what I mean? But there's no set time limit to rapport, and I mean that with my entire heart. Please talk to them, make them laugh, question them throughout the whole demo. Not just at the beginning, okay? So that can help you a lot. You have a question?
Yeah, my question was like, what pages are you showing in your book? Like, when
Oh,
you're going throughout this, because you're showing parts that are on signature and
Yeah.
complete set when I'm assuming you're on the homemaker.
Can I see your blue book?
Yes.
So I show this page, but I know a lot of you guys might not have this page yet. So here's an easier way to do
I
it.
think
Yeah,
that
that's-
was in your.
Oh, this is,
Yeah.
oh, yeah, show this page,
Okay.
And you can be, obviously, I wasn't pulling out the knives, but pull out the knives while you're doing it. Get more knives. Trust me when I say it's easier to sell the knife when you have it. Just get more knives. Set up competitions.
So you're not showing them I don't know if the blue book, my blue book's
No, it doesn't have that.
way different. Does that have the page where it still has like
Yeah, this one right here.
2 pages of every single knife?
It doesn't have the color.
Here it goes. This one? Oh,
Yeah, the trifold page, yeah,
Yeah.
okay, so you're not using that page anymore?
I'm not, you can get a new one, but if you do like just need to use this page, this is a good way to do it. Whenever
No,
you're-
I take too long in my demo, so I like the.
Oh, the other one better. Okay, okay.
Yeah.
All
I
right,
was just
well,
wondering.
just
My
in
book's
case.
Still like that.
just in case anybody ever has to do it, when you're talking about the basic, this is what you're showing. When you're talking about family set pieces, this is what you're showing. When you're talking about the complete set, this is how you're showing it, okay? Because this looks like a heck of a lot of knives that they're not gonna wanna buy, okay? And you can actually even do this. Don't show them the price page yet, but like 2 pages over, okay? That's how you can show it. Then, oh, and by the way, the Hardy Slicer also comes in the family set. It is a lot of flipping, but you'll get used to it, trust me. And you guys, this is just really for him until you get this new page. But I'm glad that you guys have this new page. It's really way easier. Yeah, question.
Oh, yes. Recently, I'm running out of family members to speak with, so I spoke with Spencer. He was like, to use your social media the best way that you can, and I allowed my grandmother to post things. He sent me something to post, and then it's a lot of friend requests, but I don't know them, so I don't know how to go about, because we don't post the writing on text messages, so how, I don't have their number, I
Yeah.
don't know who they are, but it's a lot of people coming.
We can talk one-on-one about that.
Okay.
Yeah, that's more. I was gonna say that's more probably.
I know you mentioned you said to take as much time as like you need with your report. How do you handle the objection, like beforehand, so you know like how much time you have?
Handle what objection?
So like, well, like people say like, oh hey, like I don't like you try to get like cut short on a demo.
Oh, okay. Well, here's the thing.
I know this. I was just asking for that.
Yeah, I got you. Here's the thing, guys. Whenever you're building a report, you shouldn't be BSing them, okay? Like, be genuine with it. Be purposeful when you're speaking. You know what I mean? Actually care about how their week was last week. How the day yesterday when Jimmy played basketball was. And like, be genuine when you ask it. And that takes practice too. You can just be an asshole, but you know, you have to like just practice that, just like anything, right? Just be genuine with it. And I promise you, the questions that you ask are going to sound a lot different than the questions you asked if you weren't genuine or before you knew how to actually be genuine. You know what I mean? And that has happened to me before. I've got cut off and like, look, I don't want to really talk too much. And I've been genuine, but it's just certain people. But I guarantee you 9 times out of 10, they're going to be more involved and more drawn into you. And they're going to love you even more just because you're taking the time to talk about anything but the knives.
Cool. Awesome. Give a round of applause. Thank you, sir. That was awesome. Yes.